Today I want to go ahead and introduce you to the workflow that I use when I'm trying to post photographs from a camera that I'm using that has GPS coordinates. So it's my in this case these were all taken with a Z9 that has GPS chip in it, so it automatically encodes the location in the file. It makes it a little bit easier to do this workflow. When I went out on this day, it was a day that normally I would never go out for serious photography. It was really kind of overcast. Everything was kind of a yucky day, but it was kind of a nice day to be able to go out and since I had time to go out and take some photos. And I use these photographs to go ahead and let you see how I do this. So this first video, what I've done is I've taken photographs. I have already imported them into Lightroom, and in Lightroom is the tool that I use to process my photos. So they're in Lightroom right now. I'm not going to show you that import process. I'm going to go through, show you how I would process these photos, because what I do whenever I process photos is I process them for whatever the first use I'm going to do, and then if I need to go through and do it again, I will go ahead and reprocess and reselect photos and things like that depending on the criteria at the time. But for iNaturalist, I just want something that, one, you can recognize the animal or the plant and have all the key field marks, but it does not have to be a high quality photo. So it can be a little soft, it can be not sharp, it can be in not so great light, just as long as my parameter is, as long as I know from looking at it what the species is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show you how iNaturalist will go ahead and put the species name in it. And I use that as a tool to be able to learn a few animals and a few insects and things like that I don't know. But in this case, it's all birds. So normally what I would do in a workflow like this is I would go ahead and keyword all the birds. But at this point, for this demonstration, I'm not going to. If I'm at this point, just to go ahead and do the first survey, I go ahead and get rid of these little menus by hitting the little triangles on the side to maximize the screen. And then I'm going to go ahead and double click on the first photo and look at them. So here it is. There's a cattle egret in this field of flowers. They're not particularly soft. It's quite a distance away. These are all handheld through my car, and I forgot about shutting off the engine, so there's a little bit of vibration in there. So this looks like probably a reasonably good photo. I'll just click on it, make it bigger, move it around. It's not one that I would want to brag about and put in my portfolio, but it's obviously a cattle egret. You see the buffy here, and the bill starting to turn color. So I'll go ahead and put a 1 here and choose it. So any photo that I'm going to take and process further at this point, I put a 1 star on them. Next is model duck pictures, and I think this third one here looks the best. And I saw a greater yellow legs here, kind of like that one. Let's see, let's go ahead and do that one here a little bit more. I like that one. That one's probably even better. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to show you how to combine 2 photos. So I'll have a couple of these I'll pick 2 photos of, as I'll combine them to make one observation to show you how to do that. Here, if you notice on the thumbnails on the below, you see there's a little tack there that shows you this little thing here that shows you there's geocoding involved in that photograph. So here it is, cattle egret flying in. Definitely a little bit soft because my shutter speed was definitely a little long, and it's a little bit overexposed as well. But here, that has kind of an interesting pose. I might put a 1 on it. And I think a little bit later, I have some of it actually landing, which might actually be a little more interesting to see. There he is landing. I'll go ahead and put a 1 on that. A lot of people like to see photos that look like that. Black neck stilt. They weren't moving around much, so they're probably all pretty sharp. Probably not much difference. So I'll go ahead and choose the second one. Put a 1 on it. Model duck, already got those model duck photos. Probably the same model ducks that kept swimming down the levee. And then it was a very cooperative eastern meadowlark on the posts along Skyline Drive in Texas City that I was photographing on. I kind of like this one because he's singing. He's got all the field marks. You can see the key things, the yellow here, that kind of like mark here. the brush a little bit of things, and then you can tell this is eastern meadowlark. So I'll go ahead and put this one in. A little bit more. And this bird was kind of nice. He was cooperative, and I actually moved the car and I actually did a couple of sessions of photos with him. You'll see here all of a sudden it'll get bigger here. This is the full screen. Here, I didn't like the situation I was in. It was a kind of window and some things in the way, and that causes the blurriness over here. We'll go ahead and go past those quickly. Then all of a sudden I moved to a nicer position, and here's some nicer photos of the bird. Here's one that I liked, so I kind of cropped it and did some things and posted that to show off what I'd done here. Here, the bird started doing some things. I thought he was getting ready to fly off, but then he started scratching his head on the top of the post. And I thought that was kind of an interesting pose. So I personally had never seen an eastern meadowlark do that. That may be a normal standard behavior, but it was the first time I had seen it. So I'm gonna put that as a 1 star. Now there's these gull photos. Probably this one looks pretty good. Scissortail flycatcher. Let's go ahead and blow him up and see which one looks the best. Well, that's got a little bit of his eye. It doesn't have his beak, but in this case, I think the tail and the color on the back of the bird and this tail tells you it's a scissortail flycatcher, so that's good, nice field marks. So this photo works. I'll make that a 1. And red-winged blackbird. Here, you see him in the cattails, kind of a classic place for a red-winged blackbird, so I'm going to make that one a number 1. So here what I've done is I've now highlighted a series of photos that I kind of like, as I think they have potential to be very identifiable and they'd make nice iNaturalist photos. What I'll do here is go up to the bar here and click the 1 star, and all the 1 stars, so all the pictures that I thought had possibilities popped up. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 12 photos total. So I'll do here is I'll just double click on the first one, and what I'll do here is go to the develop module, click the crop, and if you don't know how to use the crop, I just go ahead and just click on it and just move the little bars in and out. And if you want to move the subject around, a change in Lightroom a while back, it used to be that you always move the box moved around, but now the whole photo moves around from the box, which took me a little bit of time to get used to, but it works out pretty well. If you need to tilt it or anything like that, if it's crooked or something, you can straighten it out that way. This one didn't need that. So hit there. That looks good. My criteria for an iNaturalist photo, I want it to be kind of tightly cropped. I don't think those artistically make a lot of sense to do them that way. But here, this is definitely not an award-winning photo. You see that it's definitely a cattle egret. You see the bill's turning color, the buffy color on the breast. So you know it's a cattle egret. So that makes it it makes an identifiable photo to put in iNaturalist. So we know that bird was at that location on that day. The model ducks came in here. Go ahead and make a nice tight crop here. Whenever it's 2 birds, I like to put both birds in because I like to get that little extra note of behavior and normalcy. So here you have the 2 birds in there. One of them is really close to the beak, one's really close to the tail. Works for ID of these birds. Actually, it's 2 males. That's interesting. Okay. Now we have the greater yellow legs here. I'll go ahead and crop it in. I mean, these were ways away. And maybe I'll turn it to a vertical just to have something a little bit different. Because here, there's that reflection. It's not great reflection, but I kind of like reflections, so I'll put that in there. Next one, another greater yellow legs. Slightly different pose. I'll go ahead and make that vertical as well, keep them kind of looking a little bit alike. Here, keep in mind that your goal here is to help ID the bird and not necessarily make the prettiest photo. Clipped off his tail a little bit. Let's go ahead and do this a little bit. There he is. Okay. Definitely not the sharpest greater yellow legs there is. Here's the cattle egret flying in. Different group in a different part of Skyline Drive. So I kind of, at this point, since there were multiple locations for them, I'll go ahead and include the same species a second time in this set of observations. Here he comes in, his wings flared out. Kind of an interesting photo, but definitely not sharp. But here he is after he landed. Go ahead and crop in. Notice that I'm making very large crops, and I usually would never do this except for iNaturalist. And the nice thing about shooting raw and all that and non-destructive editing means that if I want to go back, for example, if I want to go ahead and undo that one, for example, it was a great shot and I want a little bit more space, I can always hit this and reset it and then recrop it, which is a nice feature. It's one of the reasons I really like Lightroom. I use it all the time. It's sort of the central part of my workflow. I mean, there might be better software to process the pictures, but the convenience of Lightroom is kind of amazing to me. So here, we'll go ahead and blackneck stilts. Now, whenever you get to the point where it's two birds of the same species and both of them are essentially the same pose, I always have the debate, do I want to put both birds in the observation or just one? In this case, I usually see two of them together, so I'll put two together. See the meadowlark singing away? Kind of a nice little photograph. I like, whoops. Make it a little bit bigger. One of my favorite birds. I love to hear them singing these in the spring. And they're western. When I lived in Colorado, I heard the western version of this bird a lot. So here he is. Here's that bird scratching his head. Kind of an interesting pose. So a lot of times for iNaturalist, what I also do is if there's some biology or some behavior going on, I will try to document that as well. So here he is scratching his head. It was kind of an odd kind of pose, an odd kind of photograph, but it shows that little bit of a behavior. I'd never seen it before. Maybe it is a common behavior, but it was the first time I've seen it. Getting to the ring-billed gulls, as I look at them, the bird in the middle is an adult bird, and the birds on the right and left of that adult bird are juveniles. So what I'll do is I'll put two of them in. This is a juvenile bird. See, there's not a gray mantle here, and you see it here. So, and it's got yellow legs here and then kind of pink legs here. But maybe, just a second here, is that the best crop or is this one better? This one's better because here you see the ring bill, the pinkish legs, which the juveniles have, a little bit of the brown here. So we know this is a juvenile bird. This is an adult bird. So I'll choose this this crop. Now, this is one of the first scissortail flycatchers I've seen of the year. Unfortunately, it was quite a distance away, but I'll go ahead and crop in on him. Or her, I don't know which one it is. So here he is. Definitely, I don't see the beak, which quite regularly for identification of birds, the beak is kind of important, but here it's facing away. But the salmon color on its back, the brown here, and the extra long tail are standard field marks for a scissortail flycatcher in the area. And the last photograph that I have here is the red-winged blackbird at the end of the trip. And I would have probably a little bit better photograph of him, but he got scared away by somebody paragliding over that area, so he got startled away, so I didn't actually get a better pose. But here, now I've gone ahead and cropped all the photos here. So now it's time to export these photos. What I do is I export this small JPEGs to go ahead and post to iNaturalist, and I'll show you how I do this. Next is, first I go ahead and take advantage of the export aspect. I have this preset that I define as iNat submission. I copy everything to a particular folder because it's convenient for me, and the way I do things, it's kind of nice. And then I also go ahead and I add underscore iNat to the end of every file name as well. That's just for me to find things and do things with them occasionally. The other thing is I do file settings, and I set it up as JPEGs, sRGB. I mean, everybody's going to be viewing this on N-color managed systems, so why do anything more sophisticated? I usually make the quality about 60 because I've not really noticed that much difference between 60 and 90 and the file, other than the file size. So depending on what you want to do, you might want to set a different number here. For size, I would set it to 2048 pixels by 2048 pixels. This way, the longest axis will always be 2048 pixels, and this defines the size of the photo. The resolution here is a meaningless number. Some programs use it for print and things like that, so I don't even worry about that number. I also sharpen it for the screen because iNaturalist is a website, and people will be looking at it on a screen, so I sharpen for screen, and I use the standard amount. Now, what I always do is, here I can remove personal information. I really don't care. I don't have any personal information on there. And it says remove location information. Remember, I used a camera and I have GPS coordinates. So why would I want to remove them? So here I go and click that. And you can write your keywords to the Lightroom hierarchy. I didn't keyword these for various reasons. So why click that box? You can watermark the photos if you want. I don't for iNaturalist. I do for other things. And post-processing, I don't do anything. So it looks like now all 12 photos have been exported. And so I'll just go ahead and I will minimize Lightroom. And here's the my dashboard page of my iNaturalist account. So just sign in, make sure you're active. I can tell I'm active as I see my picture there. Go ahead and click Upload. And the screen should change here for a second. Come on. Here it is. Normally what I would do is I just grab all the files and drag them on, but since I have one screen, I'll just go ahead and use this choose files, and here they are, and click them, date added. So I will go ahead and do these, open, and you'll see all the pictures appear as little cards. And notice the GPS coordinates are there. It says Texas City, Texas. So it's populating. It takes a minute for it to read all the metadata from the photographs. Oh, okay. So it looks like it's basically done there. And what I'll do is I like to go ahead and tell people, you can go ahead and if there's multiple pictures that are the same, like these two, you just grab here and overlap them here. There's the two pictures of the meadowlarks and the cattle egrets. So I'll just drag them over top of each other, and then when I go here, I just click the species name and loading suggestions. It says loading suggestions is automatically doing that AI. Red-winged blackbird. Click here. It's going to say celestial flycatcher. Eastern meadowlark, should be ring-billed gull. But if you don't know the names of things, it's really kind of nice that it'll go ahead and do that for you. Here, cattle egret. Mottled duck. Here it thinks it might be lesser. I think it's a greater yellow leg. Size and the behavior and the long bill to me indicates greater. If I'm wrong, somebody will also point out the difference in black neck stilt and cattle egret. So you can quickly identify and put names on these. And for example, if I want to make a notation of some information, you can always click here and then shift click on the last photograph, and then if any comment, not that important, but if you have some information that might be relevant, like for example, I go ahead and for the Eastern Meadowlark, but identified by vocalization as well. And even though right now in the spring it's easy to tell them apart, but in the wintertime it isn't, so I just have to put it in there. So put notes in there, and then I just click submit, and you have now submitted, I've now submitted 9 photographs to iNaturalist. So we can have those in. That's the end of my workflow. So if you have GPS coordinates, you see that it can be just process the pictures, export them, and then import them in. And you see the pictures that I took. Here they are. And that's all we have for this video. Now join me again. It'll be a part 2 of, I'll show you how to add GPS coordinates to photographs using Lightroom and also using iNaturalist. And then I'll also show you how to use a GPS track to add GPS data to photos as well. Hopefully this helps. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to send me an email, message me on through YouTube or through my email address. Thank you, and we'll see you later. Bye.